Arrest and the presumption of unlawfulness, a legal analysis of procedural burden and individual rights. 1. Presumptive invalidity of arrests. In tort actions alleging false arrest or imprisonment, the burden of proof shifts to the defendant once the plaintiff establishes that an arrest or detention occurred. This presumption of unlawfulness is rooted in common law. Judicial precedents such as People v. McGrew, 20 p. 92, 1888, and Knight v. Baker, 133 p. 544, 1926, affirm that the arresting party bears the responsibility to justify the detention under statutory or constitutional authority. Absent a valid warrant or exigent circumstance, the arrest is presumptively false. 2. Production and inspection of warrants. A foundational element of lawful arrest includes the officer's obligation to present and, upon request, exhibit the arrest warrant to the arrestee. Case law such as Smith v. State, 208 So.2d 747, Miss. 1968, State v. Shaw, 89 S. E. 322, 1916, and Frost v. Thomas, 24 Wend. 418, N. Y. 1840, emphasizes the accused's right to know the legal grounds and authority for detention. Refusal to produce the warrant renders the arrest subject to challenge and may constitute actionable false imprisonment. 3. Legal validity of warrants. To justify an arrest, the warrant must be facially valid and issued upon an affidavit establishing probable cause. The issuing magistrate must have subject matter jurisdiction, and the warrant must articulate sufficient factual grounds to support the alleged offense. As held in Wharton's Criminal Procedure, 12th ed., Volume 1, p. 152, 1974, failure to meet these criteria renders the warrant void ab initio. Demand for the supporting affidavit is a lawful inquiry into the warrant's integrity. 4. Individualized judicial oversight. Judicial authorization must not be a perfunctory act. The United States Supreme Court has underscored the necessity for individualized judicial review in warrant issuance to avoid mechanical or rubber stamp approvals. See State v. Pollock, 277 Minnesota 140, 151 N. W.2d 596, 1967. Mechanical signature stamps or automated approvals are inconsistent with the Fourth Amendment's particularity requirement. 5. False arrest as tortious conduct. False arrest is a direct violation of personal liberty and constitutes assault and battery under tort law. In cases such as State v. Robinson, 72A.2d 262, 1950, courts have affirmed the right of individuals to resist unlawful detainment. Resistance may extend to reasonable force to prevent bodily harm or unlawful imprisonment. The absence of legal authority makes the arresting officer liable for trespass and battery. 6. Limitations on the use of restraints. Handcuffing without provocation, such as attempted escape or physical aggression, lacks legal justification. Judicial precedent recognizes restraint as a form of physical coercion that must be warranted by circumstances. As expressed in 51 liters. R. A. 216 and Osborne v. Veach, the indiscriminate use of handcuffs constitutes an excessive use of force and is therefore unlawful. 7. Duty of immediate presentation before a magistrate. An arresting officer is obligated to bring the arrestee before a magistrate without undue delay. Detention for purposes unrelated to judicial presentation, such as photographing or fingerprinting, is unlawful and potentially unconstitutional. Courts in Kaminsky v. Durand, 12A.2d 654, 1940, and Hawkins v. Kuna, 137 N. Y. Sup. 1090, 1912, established that delay or ancillary processing absent conviction constitutes false imprisonment. 8. Summary of legal standards for lawful arrest. A valid arrest requires issuance of a signed warrant by a judge with jurisdiction, a sworn affidavit establishing probable cause, articulation of a specific criminal offense, named identification of the arrestee, and immediate production of the warrant upon request. Any deviation, including the use of handcuffs without cause, or delay in seeing a magistrate, renders the arrest presumptively unlawful. False arrest is a tort with no immunity defense for good faith error. 9. Statutory infractions and biological property. When the underlying cause of arrest is a statutory infraction that does not rise to the level of a capital crime, the arresting officer must establish lawful title to the biological property, that is, the body, of the individual. Without such authority, the arrest is void ab initio. Arrests executed absent a showing of lawful authority to detain a living individual for civil offenses are constitutionally infirm and susceptible to civil and criminal liability.